welcome to Ms. Fluent English. I'm so glad you're here today because we have something very special prepared for you. In this video, we're going to focus on helping you speak English with confidence. We'll practice real-life conversations, advanced expressions, and speaking techniques that will make your English sound natural and fluent. Whether you're at a B1, B2, or even C1 level, this session is designed to improve your listening, speaking, and overall confidence in English. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to do something simple. Click the like button if you're excited to practice today. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English so you don't miss any future lessons. And leave a comment below telling me what part of English speaking you want to improve the most. Sharing your goals helps me understand what you need, and it also helps other learners in the community. Now, let's start with a simple question. Have you ever felt nervous when speaking English? Maybe you know the words, but somehow when it's your turn to talk, you freeze or your sentences feel awkward. That's very normal. Today, we're going to work through that. By the end of this video, you'll have phrases, tips, and practice exercises that will make your speech smoother and more confident. Let's begin with a common scenario. Greeting someone and starting a conversation. This is something you do every day, but even here, confidence matters. I want you to repeat after me. Ready? Imagine you meet a friend at a cafe. You can start by saying, "Hey, how's your day going?" Say it with me. "Hey, how's your day going?" Great. Now, a natural follow-up could be, "It's been a busy day, but I finally have a moment to relax. How about you?" Repeat that slowly. "It's been a busy day, but I finally have a moment to relax. How about you?" Notice how the first part is simple, but the follow-up shows emotion and interest. This is what makes your English sound natural. Real conversations aren't just about asking questions. They're about sharing, connecting, and showing your feelings. Now let's practice another common scenario. Imagine you're meeting a colleague at work and want to start small talk. You could say, "Good morning. Did you have a good weekend?" Repeat after me, "Good morning. Did you have a good weekend?" Perfect. A good follow-up could be, "I spent some time reading and relaxing at home. How about you?" Repeat that. "I spent some time reading and relaxing at home. How about you?" You see the pattern? Ask a simple question, share a bit about yourself, and then invite the other person to share. This technique makes conversations flow naturally and builds your confidence because you know exactly what to say. Let's add a little challenge. I want you to combine both scenarios and make a longer conversation. Imagine you meet a friend you haven't seen in a week. You can start with, "Hey, how have you been?" Repeat that. "Hey, how have you been?" Then you can say, "I've been busy, but I finally have some free time. What about you?" Repeat it. "I've been busy, but I finally have some free time. What about you?" Notice how these sentences are short, easy to say, and give you space to respond to the other person. The key is to speak slowly, clearly, and with a little energy. Confidence comes not just from the words, but from how you deliver them. Now let's practice another tip for speaking confidently. using expressions that show interest and empathy. For example, if your friend says, "I had a really long day at work," you can respond, "Oh, I understand. That sounds exhausting. Do you want to talk about it?" Repeat after me. "Oh, I understand. That sounds exhausting. Do you want to talk about it?" This phrase does two things. First, it shows you are listening. Second, it keeps the conversation going naturally. When you practice these types of phrases, you are training your brain to think in English, not translate from your first language. Let's try another example. Imagine a friend tells you they tried a new restaurant. You could say, "That sounds amazing. What did you order?" Repeat, "That sounds amazing. What did you order?" Then, when they describe the dish, you can respond with, "Wow, that sounds delicious. I need to try it sometime." Repeat, "Wow, that sounds delicious. I need to try it sometime." By practicing these simple pattern SAG knowledge, ask, respond you, create natural conversation flow. Your English starts to sound smooth and confident without thinking too hard. Before we finish this first part, let's do a mini exercise together. I want you to imagine you meet a friend at a coffee shop and you haven't seen them in a month. Your goal is to greet them, ask about their day, share something small about yourself, and respond to their answer. Speak aloud. Don't just read silently. Take your time. Here's a sample structure. Step 1. Greet them. "Hey, it's so good to see you." Step 2. Ask a simple question. "How have you been lately?" Step 3. Share a little about yourself. "I've been busy with work, but I finally have some free time." Step 4. Respond naturally to their answer. "Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that." Repeat this conversation aloud a few times. Each time, add your own words or small details. The more you practice, the more confident you will feel when speaking English in real situations. Remember, confidence comes from practice. Start small, repeat simple phrases, and gradually make your sentences longer and more expressive. Don't worry about mistakes, they are part of learning. Every time you speak, you're building fluency and improving your confidence. In the next part, we will explore longer, more detailed conversations. We'll practice expressing feelings, opinions, and telling short stories in English. This will help you sound even more natural and confident in real-life conversations. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Ms. Fhuang English, and leave a comment below sharing one sentence you just practiced. I'd love to hear how you're applying these techniques. And now, get ready for part 2, where we'll take your English conversations to the next level with longer dialogues, natural expressions, and advanced fluency practice. I hope you had a chance to practice the conversation exercises from part 1. Remember, speaking aloud is the key to building confidence. Today, in part 2, we're going to take your English conversations a step further. We'll practice longer dialogues, show you how to express opinions naturally, and add small details that make your speech sound fluent and authentic. Let's start with a situation many of us face. Talking about your weekend. Imagine a friend asks, "How was your weekend?" Instead of just saying, "It was good," we can expand it to sound more natural and interesting. Try saying, "It was really nice. I spent some time reading a book and went for a walk in the park. How about you?" Repeat after me. "It was really nice. I spent some time reading a book and went for a walk in the park. How about you?" Notice how adding small details makes your English sound richer. You're not just answering, you're sharing a little story. This also gives the other person more to respond to, which keeps the conversation flowing naturally. Now let's practice giving your opinion. Imagine your friend says, "I watched a movie last night." You can respond with, "Oh, really? I love movies. What did you think of it?" Repeat after me. "Oh, really? I love movies. What did you think of it?" When your friend answers, you can continue the conversation with your own opinion. For example, "That sounds interesting. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard good things about it. I should watch it this weekend." Repeat. "That sounds interesting. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard good things about it. I should watch it this weekend." See how this works? You acknowledge what they said, show interest, and then add your own thoughts. This is a natural pattern that makes your conversations more fluent and engaging. Let's move on to another common scenario, discussing plans. Imagine a friend asks, "Do you have any plans for tomorrow?" Instead of just saying yes or no, you can respond like this. "Yes, I'm going to meet my friend for coffee in the morning, and then I plan to visit the library. What about you?" Repeat. "Yes, I'm going to meet my friend for coffee in the morning, and then I plan to visit the library. What about you?" Adding the "what about you" at the end is important. It invites the other person to continue talking. Conversations are two-way streets. By asking questions, you show interest and keep the dialogue flowing naturally. Now, let's practice expressing feelings. This is important for sounding more natural and confident. Imagine your friend says, "I'm tired today." You can respond, "I understand. You've been working hard, haven't you? I feel tired sometimes too, especially after a long week." Repeat, "I understand. You've been working hard, haven't you? I feel tired sometimes too, especially after a long week." When you express empathy and relate your own experience, the conversation feels more natural and emotional. This is how native speakers often talk. They connect, share, and respond with feelings, not just words. Next, let's practice giving advice naturally. Imagine a friend says, "I can't sleep well at night." A natural response could be, "I know that feeling. Maybe try reading a book or listening to some relaxing music before bed. That usually helps me." Repeat after me. "I know that feeling. Maybe try reading a book or listening to some relaxing music before bed. That usually helps me." See how giving advice can be simple and natural? You don't need to be perfect. Just share what works for you. and it makes the conversation feel friendly and helpful. Now, let's practice combining all these elements into a short conversation. Repeat after me. Friend. Hey, how was your weekend? You. It was really nice. I went to the park and read a book. How about you? Friend. I watched a movie and relaxed at home. You. Oh, that sounds great. I love movies. Which one did you watch? Friend. I watched a comedy. It was funny but a little long. You. I see. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard good things. I should watch it this weekend. Take a moment to practice this aloud a few times. Change the details to fit your own experiences. The more you personalize it, the more confident and natural you'll feel. Another tip for fluency is using linking words and small phrases to connect ideas. Words like so because actually by the way, and also make your English sound smooth and native-like. For example, you could say, I went to the park and read a book because I wanted to relax. Repeat. I went to the park and read a book because I wanted to relax. Or, I watched a movie yesterday. By the way, I think you'd really enjoy it. Repeat. I watched a movie yesterday. By the way, I think you'd really enjoy it. These small connectors make your sentences flow naturally. Native speakers use them all the time, and practicing them will boost your fluency. Finally, let's do a mini exercise. Imagine you meet a friend at a cafe. Your goal is to greet them warmly, ask about their weekend, share a short story about yours, respond naturally to their answer, express an opinion, feeling, or advice. Speak it aloud, slowly at first, and then gradually faster as you feel more confident. Use the phrases we practiced. How about you? That sounds great. I see. Maybe try. By practicing this short conversation several times, you'll notice your English starts to feel more fluid. The words will come more naturally, and your confidence will grow. In Part 3, we'll focus on handling longer conversations, telling small stories, and using advanced expressions that make your English sound natural and engaging in any situation. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video if you're enjoying the practice. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English if you haven't yet, and leave a comment below sharing one sentence you just practiced. I want to see how you're applying these techniques. Now, get ready for Part 3, where we'll build on today's practice and make your English even more confident and fluent. I hope you had some time to practice the conversations from Part 2. Today, in Part 3, we're going to focus on telling short stories in English, adding details naturally, and keeping your listener engaged. This is an essential skill because fluency is not just about speaking. Quickly, it's about speaking clearly, with confidence, and in a way that feels natural. Let's start with a simple question you might hear. What did you do yesterday? Many learners respond with just a few words. I studied or I stayed home. That's correct, but it doesn't make the conversation very interesting. Let's make it more fluent and engaging. You can say, yesterday was quite busy. I studied English in the morning, went grocery shopping in the afternoon, and then cooked dinner for my family in the evening. How about you? Repeat after me. Yesterday was quite busy. I studied English in the morning, went grocery shopping in the afternoon, and then cooked dinner for my family in the evening. How about you? Notice how adding small details morning, afternoon, evening makes your story clearer. This is how you sound more natural in English. You're not just listing actions, you're painting a little picture of your day. Now, let's practice connecting events naturally. Imagine your friend asks, "How was your weekend?" You can respond, "It was great. On Saturday, I went hiking with my friends. The weather was perfect, and the view from the hill was amazing. On Sunday, I stayed home and watched a movie. It was very relaxing." Repeat, "It was great. On Saturday, I went hiking with my friends. The weather was perfect, and the view from the hill was amazing. On Sunday, I stayed home and watched a movie. It was very relaxing." See how using words like and, then, and, on Sunday helps your story flow naturally? Linking your ideas makes your English more fluent and easier to understand. Next, let's practice giving your feelings during a story. Imagine your friend asks, "How was your trip?" You can answer, "It was wonderful. I was really excited to visit the city. I felt a little nervous at first because it was my first time there, but then I met some very friendly people, and it turned out to be an amazing experience." Repeat, "It was wonderful. I was really excited to visit the city. I felt a little nervous at first because it was my first time there, but then I met some very friendly people, and it turned out to be an amazing experience." Adding emotions excited, nervous, amazing makes your English sound authentic. Native speakers often share feelings along with facts. This helps conversations feel lively and engaging. Now let's practice asking follow-up questions naturally. Imagine your friend tells you about a movie they watched. "I watched a new comedy yesterday." Instead of just saying, "Sounds good," you can ask, "That sounds fun. Who did you watch it with? Did you enjoy it?" Repeat after me. "That sounds fun. Who did you watch it with? Did you enjoy it?" By asking follow-up questions, you show interest and keep the conversation moving. This is a key skill for fluency because real conversations are back and forth, not just one person talking. Let's combine storytelling and interaction in a short dialogue. Repeat after me. Friend, how was your weekend? You, it was great. On Saturday, I went hiking with my friends. The weather was perfect and the view from the hill was amazing. On Sunday, I stayed home and watched a movie. It was very relaxing. How about you? Friend, I visited my parents and helped them in the garden. You, that sounds nice. Gardening is very relaxing too. What did you plant? Friend, we planted some flowers and vegetables. You, that's wonderful. I love seeing flowers grow. It must have been a beautiful garden. Notice how this dialogue flows naturally. You share your story, ask questions, respond to the other person, and add feelings or opinions. This is exactly how fluent English sounds. Practice this aloud several times, changing the details to match your own life. Now, let's focus on using expressions to make your storytelling even more natural. You can use phrases like, "Believe it or not, you won't believe what happened. It turns out that," and "as it happens." These expressions make your English sound more native. For example, "Believe it or not, I got lost on my way to the park, but I found a beautiful little cafe while looking for the street." Repeat. "Believe it or not, I got lost on my way to the park, but I found a beautiful little cafe while looking for the street." Or, "You won't believe what happened. I was walking in the park and suddenly it started raining, but then the sun came out and a rainbow appeared." Repeat. "You won't believe what happened. I was walking in the park and suddenly it started raining, but then the sun came out and a rainbow appeared." These phrases add curiosity and emotion, making your story engaging. Try using at least one of these phrases in your practice today. Finally, let's do a mini exercise. Think of a short story from your life. A day at school, a weekend activity, or a small adventure. Use these steps. Start with a general statement. "Yesterday was exciting," or "last weekend was fun." Add details about time, place, and people. Include your feelings: happy, nervous, surprised, relaxed. Ask a question or comment to continue the conversation. Have you ever done something like that? Practice this aloud several times. Record yourself if you can, and listen to notice how fluent and natural you sound. In Part 4, we will explore even longer conversations, how to give advice naturally, and how to handle questions confidently in any situation. Before we move on, don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying the practice. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English if you haven't yet, and leave a comment sharing one short story you just practiced. I love seeing how you apply these exercises. Get ready for Part 4, where we'll make your English even more confident, expressive, and fluent with real-life conversation tips and techniques. I hope you practiced your short stories from Part 3. Today, in Part 4, we are going to focus on giving advice naturally, sharing opinions, and handling questions confidently. These skills are very important because in real-life conversations, people often ask for your thoughts, suggestions, or feelings. Knowing how to respond clearly and fluently will make your English sound confident and natural. Let's start with a common question. What should I do? Many learners might answer simply, "You should." That's correct, but we can make it more fluent and natural. You can say, "If I were you, I would," or "I think it's a good idea to," or "Have you considered?" Repeat after me. "If I were you, I would. I think it's a good idea to. Have you considered?" These expressions are more flexible and polite. They sound natural in everyday conversations. For example, your friend says, "I can't decide whether to study in the morning or evening." You can respond, "If I were you, I would study in the morning. I feel more focused and energetic then. Repeat, if I were you, I would study in the morning. I feel more focused and energetic then. Notice how adding your reason, I feel more focused and energetic, makes your advice stronger and more convincing. Native speakers often give reasons, not just commands. Next, let's practice another way to give advice. You might want to. This is softer and very polite. For example, you might want to try talking to him directly. It could clear up any misunderstanding. Repeat, you might want to try talking to him directly. It could clear up any misunderstanding. Another common situation is giving opinions. People might ask, "What do you think about this movie?" Instead of a short answer like, "It's good, try." I really enjoyed the movie because the story was interesting and the actors were amazing. What about you? Repeat, I really enjoyed the movie because the story was interesting and the actors were amazing. What about you? Asking "what about you" is very important. It keeps the conversation going and shows interest. This is a key skill for fluent English. Now, let's combine advice and opinions into a short conversation. Repeat after me. Friend, I'm not sure if I should accept the new job offer. You, if I were you, I would think about the benefits and the work environment. You want a place where you feel happy and motivated. Have you considered that? Friend, yes, but I'm worried about the commute. You, that's a good point. You might want to test the commute a few times before deciding. How do you feel about that? Notice how this conversation flows naturally. You give advice, share opinions, ask questions, and respond to the other person's concerns. This is exactly how fluent English works in real life. Next, let's practice polite ways to disagree. Often learners are afraid to disagree, but there are gentle ways to do it. You can say, "I see your point, but I think," or "That's interesting, however," or "I understand, but in my opinion," repeat after me. "I see your point, but I think, that's interesting. However, I understand, but in my opinion," for example, "I think we should start the project next week." You can respond, "I see your point, but I think starting this week could be better because we have more time to prepare." Repeat, "I see your point, but I think starting this week could be better because we have more time to prepare." This way you sound respectful, confident, and fluent. You're expressing your opinion without arguing. Now, let's practice giving advice and opinions naturally in a longer dialogue. Friend, I'm trying to eat healthier, but it's difficult. You, I understand, but in my opinion, small changes are better than big ones. You might want to start by eating more fruits and vegetables each day. Have you tried that? Friend, I tried a little, but I sometimes forget. You, that's normal. You could set reminders or keep healthy snacks at home. It helps a lot. What do you think? Friend, I think that could work. I'll try it. See how this dialogue is fluent, natural, and interactive? You give advice, explain reasons, ask questions, and respond politely. Practice this pattern in your own conversations. changing the topic to match your life. Another tip for fluency is using linking phrases when giving advice or sharing opinions. For example, also, besides that, another idea is, in addition, one thing to remember is, for example, one thing to remember is to get enough sleep. It helps your focus and energy. Besides that, exercising regularly makes a big difference. Repeat, one thing to remember is to get enough sleep. It helps your focus and energy. Besides that, exercising regularly makes a big difference. These phrases make your English sound smooth and connected, not choppy. Finally, here's a mini exercise for you. Think of a situation where a friend might ask for your advice. It could be about studying, work, health, or hobbies. Use these steps. Start with a polite expression. If I were you, I would, or you might want to. Give your reason or opinion clearly. Ask a follow-up question. What do you think? Or have you considered that? Add a linking phrase if you want to give another idea. Another idea is, or, in addition. Practice this aloud several times, using your own real-life situations. You can even record yourself to notice how natural your English sounds. In Part 5, we will explore advanced conversation skills, expressing preferences, making comparisons, and discussing plans confidently. These skills will help you speak fluently in more complex situations. Before moving on, don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying these exercises. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English if you haven't yet, and leave a comment sharing one piece of advice you just practiced giving. I love seeing your examples. Get ready for Part 5. Where your English will become even more flexible, expressive, and natural in everyday conversations. I hope you've been practicing giving advice and sharing opinions from Part 4. Today, in Part 5, we are going to focus on expressing preferences, making comparisons, and discussing plans. These skills are essential because they help you sound confident, clear, and fluent when talking about your choices or making decisions in real life. Let's start with expressing preferences. A common question you might hear is, do you prefer coffee or tea? Instead of simply answering coffee, you can say, I prefer coffee because it gives me more energy in the morning. How about you? Repeat after me. I prefer coffee because it gives me more energy in the morning. How about you? Notice how adding your reason makes your answer sound natural. English speakers often explain why they prefer something. Other ways to express preference include I like, more than, I enjoy, more than, and I'm more into, than. Repeat after me. I like coffee more than tea. I enjoy reading more than watching TV. I'm more into hiking than running. Now, let's practice a short conversation using preferences. Friend, do you prefer working in the morning or evening? You. I prefer working in the morning because I feel more focused and productive. What about you? Friend, I'm more into evening work. I like the quiet and calm at that time. You, that makes sense. Everyone has their own rhythm. See how adding explanations and asking, "What about you?" keeps the conversation natural and engaging. Next, let's talk about making comparisons. Comparisons help you explain choices, evaluate things, and sound fluent. Common structures include A is better than B, A is more than B, and A is less than B. Repeat after me. This book is better than that one. The weather today is warmer than yesterday. This option is less expensive than the other. You can also use comparisons in conversations naturally. For example, friend, which movie did you like better? You, I liked the first one better because the story was more exciting. The second one was good too, but a little slow in some parts. What about you? Notice the smooth flow. You compare, explain, and invite the other person to share their opinion. This makes your English sound fluent and interactive. Now let's combine preferences and comparisons in a short dialogue. Friend, do you prefer traveling by train or plane? You, I prefer traveling by plane because it's faster, but trains are more comfortable and relaxing. What do you like? Friend, I enjoy trains more. I like looking at the scenery and moving around easily. You, that's a good point. I sometimes forget how enjoyable trains can be. This dialogue shows how expressing preferences, giving reasons, and comparing options creates a natural conversation. Next, let's focus on discussing plans. Talking about future activities is very common in real life. Key phrases include, I'm planning to, I'm thinking about, I'm going to, and I hope to. Repeat after me. I'm planning to start a new project next week. I'm thinking about learning Spanish. I'm going to visit my family this weekend. I hope to finish reading this book soon. Here's how you can use these phrases in a conversation. Friend, do you have any plans for the weekend? You, I'm planning to go hiking with some friends. How about you? Friend, I'm going to visit my parents. It's been a while since I last saw them. You, that sounds nice. I hope you have a great time with them. See how these phrases sound natural and fluent? You're showing your intentions, asking about others, and adding polite comments. Now, let's practice a longer dialogue combining preferences, comparisons, and plans. Friend, do you prefer going to the beach or the mountains? You, I like the mountains more because I enjoy hiking and fresh air. Beaches are fun too, but I find them crowded sometimes. How about you? Friend, I prefer the beach. I love swimming and relaxing by the water. You, that's great. I'm planning a hiking trip to the mountains next month. Are you planning any trips? Friend, yes. I'm going to the beach with my family. We hope to spend a few days there. You, that sounds wonderful. I hope the weather will be perfect for both of us. Notice how the conversation flows naturally. You give your preference, compare options, discuss future plans, and respond politely to your friend. This is exactly how fluent English conversations work. Finally, a quick tip for fluency. When discussing preferences, comparisons, or plans, always try to Give a reason or explanation. Ask a follow-up question. Use linking words like also, besides that, or in addition to add more information. For practice, think about your favorite foods, hobbies, or weekend activities. Use these steps. Express your preference. Compare two or more options. Explain why. And then ask a question to the listener. Repeat this aloud several times until it feels natural. In Part 6, we will focus on handling complex questions, expressing feelings, and giving detailed responses to sound even more fluent and confident. These skills will help you speak naturally in longer conversations and real-life situations. Before we finish Part 5, take a moment to like this video if you're enjoying these lessons. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English if you haven't yet, and leave a comment telling me your favorite way to express preferences. I would love to see your examples. Get ready for Part 6, where your English will become even more expressive and detailed, helping you sound confident in more advanced conversations. I hope you've been practicing expressing preferences, comparisons, and talking about plans from Part 5. Today, in Part 6, we are going to focus on handling complex questions, expressing your feelings, and giving detailed responses. These skills are crucial because they help you sound confident, natural, and fluent in longer conversations. Let's start with complex questions. In real life, people often ask questions that are not simple yes or no questions. They want explanations, opinions, or details. For example, instead of asking, "Do you like movies?" someone might ask, "What kind of movies do you enjoy, and why?" A simple way to answer is to give a full response. I enjoy action movies because they are exciting and keep me on the edge of my seat. I also like comedies sometimes because they help me relax and laugh. Repeat after me. I enjoy action movies because they are exciting and keep me on the edge of my seat. I also like comedies sometimes because they help me relax and laugh. Notice how we give more information and connect ideas naturally with words like because and also. This is what makes your English sound fluent. Now, let's practice expressing your feelings. When talking about your feelings, common phrases include I feel, I'm really, it makes me, and I get. Repeat after me. I feel happy when I spend time with friends. I'm really excited about my new project. It makes me nervous to speak in public. I get frustrated when things don't go as planned. You can also combine feelings with reasons to give a detailed answer. For example, I feel nervous when I speak English in front of a group because I worry about making mistakes, but I also feel proud when I manage to express my ideas clearly. Repeat after me. I feel nervous when I speak English in front of a group because I worry about making mistakes, but I also feel proud when I manage to express my ideas clearly. Let's see how feelings and complex questions work in a conversation. Friend, how do you feel about learning English online? I feel motivated because it gives me flexibility, but sometimes I feel frustrated if I don't understand something quickly. I try to stay patient and keep practicing. How about you? Friend, I feel the same. I enjoy the convenience, but it can be challenging at times. Notice how giving feelings, reasons, and asking a follow-up question keeps the conversation flowing naturally. Next, we'll practice giving detailed responses. Long answers make your English sound more natural, confident, and fluent. For example, instead of just saying, "Yes, I like music," you can say, "Yes, I like music, especially jazz and classical. I enjoy listening to it when I relax at home or when I'm working because it helps me focus and feel calm." Repeat after me. Yes, I like music, especially jazz and classical. I enjoy listening to it when I relax at home or when I'm working because it helps me focus and feel calm. Detailed responses also help you add examples, comparisons, and feelings. For instance, friend, do you like traveling? You? Yes, I love traveling. I enjoy exploring new cities and learning about different cultures. For example, last year I visited Italy, and I loved trying the local food and visiting historical sites. Traveling makes me feel inspired and gives me a fresh perspective on life. See how adding examples, feelings, and reasons makes your English sound much more fluent and natural. Now, let's practice a longer dialogue combining complex questions, feelings, and detailed responses. Friend, what do you think about working from home? You, I think working from home has many advantages. I feel more comfortable and productive in my own space. I also enjoy saving time on commuting. However, sometimes I feel lonely because I miss chatting with colleagues. Overall, I think it works well for me, but it depends on the person. How do you feel about it? Friend, I feel the same. I enjoy the flexibility, but I sometimes miss the office environment and teamwork. Notice how this conversation flows naturally. You expressed your opinion, shared feelings, gave examples, and invited the other person to respond. This is exactly how advanced English conversations work. Here's a tip for practice. When asked a question, try not to give a one-word answer. Add feelings, reasons, and examples. Connect ideas with words like because, so, also, but, and however. Always ask a follow-up question to keep the conversation going. For practice right now, think about a question you might be asked in English, such as, "What's your favorite hobby?" Try answering with your opinion, how it makes you feel, a reason or example. A question to your listener. Say it aloud several times until it feels natural. Finally, remember that using feelings and detailed responses makes your English more personal and engaging. People enjoy talking to someone who shares experiences and emotions naturally. This is what fluent English speakers do every day. In Part 7, we will practice asking questions, showing interest in others, and keeping conversations going smoothly. These skills will help you become even more confident and interactive in real-life situations. Before we finish Part 6, take a moment to like this video if you've been enjoying these lessons. Subscribe to Ms. Fwang English if you haven't yet, and leave a comment telling me one feeling you can express in English with a detailed response. I would love to see your examples. Get ready for part 7, where we will focus on asking questions naturally, showing interest, and keeping conversations flowing like a native speaker. In part 6, we practiced expressing feelings, giving detailed responses, and handling complex questions. Today, in part 7, we're going to focus on one of the most important skills for fluent English conversations: asking questions naturally, showing interest in others, and keeping the conversation flowing. These are the secrets to sounding confident, friendly, and engaging in real-life English. Let's start with asking questions. In English, questions aren't just about getting information. They also show that you care and are interested in the other person. For example, instead of simply asking, "Did you like the movie?" you can make it more natural by asking, "What did you think about the movie?" or "Which part of the movie did you enjoy the most?" Repeat after me. What did you think about the movie? Which part of the movie did you enjoy the most? Notice how adding words like what, which, and how makes your questions open-ended. Open-ended questions are great because they encourage people to give longer answers and share their thoughts. Now, let's practice showing interest in the answers. When someone responds, you can show interest by using phrases like, "That sounds interesting, really? Tell me more. I didn't know that." Or, "Wow, that's amazing. Repeat after me. That sounds interesting. Really? Tell me more. I didn't know that. Wow, that's amazing. Let's see how this works in a conversation." Friend, I started learning painting recently, and I really enjoy it. You. Really? Tell me more. What kind of painting do you like? Friend, I like watercolor painting because it's relaxing and I can mix colors freely. You. That sounds interesting. I didn't know watercolor could be so flexible. How long have you been practicing? See how asking follow-up questions and showing interest keeps the conversation going naturally? This is a key skill for sounding fluent in English. Another tip is to use conversation bridges. These are phrases that connect your question or response to the other person's answer. For example, "That reminds me, speaking of," or "I know what you mean." Actually, repeat after me. That reminds me. Speaking of, "I know what you mean." Actually, here's an example of a conversation using conversation bridges. Friend, "I just bought a new guitar and I'm learning to play songs." You. "That reminds me, I tried playing the piano last year." How do you find learning the guitar compared to piano? Friend, "It's different, but I enjoy it. Guitar feels more portable, and I like strumming chords." You. "I know what you mean. Actually, I think instruments are all fun in their own way. What song are you practicing now?" Notice how natural the conversation flows. You're not only asking questions, but connecting to your own experiences and inviting the other person to continue. Now, let's practice a few common question phrases that make English sound natural and fluent. How do you feel about? What do you think about? Have you ever? What's your experience with? How do you usually? Repeat these aloud. How do you feel about? What do you think about? Have you ever? What's your experience with? How do you usually? Let's try them in conversation practice. Friend, I went hiking last weekend. You? That's great. How do you feel about hiking in the mountains? Friend, I love it. I feel free and happy when I'm surrounded by nature. You, I know what you mean. I also enjoy outdoor activities. Have you ever tried camping as well? Friend, yes, I went camping once and it was an amazing experience. See how asking natural questions, showing interest, and connecting ideas keeps the conversation engaging? Now, here's a challenge for you. Think of a question you could ask a friend about their favorite hobby or activity. Make sure it's open-ended. Then, imagine their answer and practice showing interest using phrases like, "Really? Tell me more," or "That sounds amazing." Repeat this aloud several times. Another tip for fluent conversations is to use softeners to make questions sound friendly and natural instead of too direct. For example, I was wondering, do you mind if I ask? Could you tell me? Repeat after me. I was wondering, do you mind if I ask? Could you tell me? For example, I was wondering, how do you usually spend your weekends? Sounds much friendlier than, what do you do on weekends? Finally, always remember to listen actively. When someone answers your question, show that you are paying attention. Use small responses like, I see, that's interesting, wow, really? Or, no way. These little words make a big difference in how natural and engaging your conversation sounds. Before we finish part 7, let's do a mini practice session together. Imagine you are talking to a friend about their weekend. Ask a natural question. Show interest in their answer. Connect it to your experience and ask a follow-up question. Say it aloud and practice repeating it until it feels natural. In part 8, we will focus on giving advice, suggestions, and opinions naturally in English. This will help you speak confidently in conversations where people ask for your thoughts or help, which happens all the time in real life. Remember to like this video if you're enjoying these lessons. Subscribe to Ms. Fluent English and leave a comment sharing one interesting question you can ask a friend in English. I can't wait to see your examples. In part 7, we practiced asking natural, open-ended questions, showing interest in others, and keeping conversations flowing. Now, in part 8, we're going to focus on another essential skill for speaking English fluently, giving advice, suggestions, and opinions in a way that sounds confident, friendly, and natural. This is something you'll use all the time in real-life conversations, whether you're helping a friend, sharing your thoughts, or participating in discussions. Let's start with giving advice. In English, it's common to use phrases like, if I were you, I would. You might want to. It could help if you. Or have you thought about? Repeat after me. If I were you, I would. You might want to. It could help if you. Have you thought about? For example, imagine your friend says, I'm stressed because of work, and I don't know what to do. You can respond naturally with advice. If I were you, I would take a short break and go for a walk. It could help you relax. Or you could say, have you thought about making a to-do list? It might make things feel more manageable. Notice how these phrases are polite, helpful, and sound natural in conversation. They don't sound like commands. They're suggestions that show care and respect. Now, let's practice giving suggestions in a slightly different way. You can use, why don't you? Maybe you could, or I suggest that you repeat after me. Why don't you? Maybe you could, I suggest that you. Here's an example. Friend, I want to improve my English speaking, but I don't know where to start. You, why don't you try practicing with short daily conversations every day? Friend, that sounds good, but I feel shy. You, maybe you could start by speaking to yourself in front of a mirror. It helps build confidence. Friend, I'll try that. Thank you. See how giving advice naturally combines with showing empathy? That's the key to sounding fluent and friendly. Next, let's practice sharing your opinion. In English, it's common to use phrases like, I think, in my opinion, I believe, or, from my experience, repeat after me. I think, in my opinion, I believe. From my experience, for example, if someone asks, do you like online learning? You could answer, I think online learning is convenient because you can study anywhere. In my opinion, it's also flexible, but it requires self-discipline. Notice how adding small explanations, like because or but, makes your opinion sound more complete and natural. It also encourages the other person to respond and share their own view. Another useful tip is to use softeners when giving your opinion. This makes your speech sound polite and conversational. Phrases like, I feel that, it seems to me, I would say, or from my perspective, repeat after me, I feel that, it seems to me, I would say, from my perspective. Example conversation. Friend, do you think learning grammar is important? You, I feel that grammar is important, but speaking practice is equally important. From my perspective, combining both is the best way to improve. Friend, that makes sense. I usually focus on grammar too much. You, I would say it's normal, but maybe you could balance grammar and speaking more often. See how this creates a natural, engaging flow in conversation? You're not just giving advice or an opinion, you're encouraging discussion and keeping the dialogue alive. Now, let's practice a few more situations. A friend asks, I want to eat healthier, but I don't know how. You could say, maybe you could start by adding more vegetables to your meals. From my experience, small changes are easier to maintain. A colleague says, I'm nervous about giving a presentation. You could say, if I were you, I would practice in front of a mirror or record yourself. It could help you feel more confident. A friend asks, should I take this job offer? You could say, I feel that it depends on your goals. You might want to consider the work environment and opportunities for growth. Notice how each response is polite, helpful, and sounds natural in conversation. Also, practice repeating these phrases aloud to get used to using them naturally. Try saying, "If I were you, I would. Maybe you could. I feel that." And from my experience, several times. Before we finish Part 8, here's a mini exercise for you. Think of a situation where a friend might ask for your advice. Write down or say aloud one suggestion using "If I were you, I would," and one opinion using "I think" or "In my opinion." Then imagine your friend's response and continue the conversation naturally. In Part 9, we will focus on expressing agreement and disagreement politely. This is another essential skill for natural, fluent English conversations, especially when discussing opinions, giving feedback, or joining group discussions. Remember, if you're enjoying these lessons, like this video, subscribe to Ms. Fluent English, and leave a comment sharing one piece of advice you would give a friend in English. I'm excited to read your examples and help you improve. In Part 8, we practiced giving advice, suggestions, and opinions in natural, friendly ways. Now, in Part 9, we're going to focus on another essential skill for fluency: expressing agreement and disagreement politely. This is key to keeping conversations smooth and natural, especially when discussing ideas, opinions, or making decisions. Let's start with expressing agreement. In English, you can use phrases like "I agree," "exactly," "that's true," "absolutely," or "I feel the same way." Repeat after me. I agree. Exactly. That's true. Absolutely. I feel the same way. Here's an example. Friend, I think practicing English daily is the best way to improve. You, I completely agree. Daily practice really helps build confidence and fluency. Notice how adding a small explanation after agreeing makes your response sound more natural and conversational. For example, I agree because it helps you get used to thinking in English every day. Another way to show agreement is with soft expressions that sound conversational. That's a good point. You're right, or I see what you mean. Repeat after me. That's a good point. You're right, I see what you mean. Example conversation. Colleague, I think teamwork makes projects more successful. You're right, I see what you mean, because everyone can share their ideas and help each other. Now let's practice polite disagreement. In English, it's important to disagree without sounding rude. Phrases like, I'm not sure I agree, I see your point, but that's an interesting idea, however, or I understand, but I think, are very useful. Repeat after me. I'm not sure I agree, I see your point, but that's an interesting idea, however, I understand, but I think. Example conversation. Friend, I think we should skip practicing speaking and focus only on grammar. I see your point, but I think practicing speaking is just as important. Grammar is important, but speaking helps you use it in real life. Notice how you can show respect for the other person's opinion while also sharing your own. Using softening phrases like "I see your point" or "I understand" makes disagreements sound polite and natural. Here are a few more phrases you can use to politely disagree. "I'm not sure about that." "I have a different opinion." "I would suggest a different approach." Or "I'm not convinced because." Repeat after me. "I'm not sure about that." "I have a different opinion." "I would suggest a different approach." "I'm not convinced because." Example conversation. Colleague. "We should all memorize English rules before speaking." You. "I have a different opinion. I would suggest practicing speaking regularly while learning the rules." It helps you remember them better in context. Another useful tip is to combine agreement and disagreement in the same sentence. This sounds very natural in English and shows that you are listening carefully. "I agree with you on that point, but I also think," or "you're right about." "However, I feel that." Example. Friend. "Watching movies in English helps improve listening skills." You. "I agree with you on that point, but I also think talking with native speakers is important for speaking fluency." Now, let's practice a mini exercise. Think of a topic where someone might have a different opinion than yours. First, say a phrase showing agreement, like "I see your point," and add a short reason why. Then, try a polite disagreement using "I understand, but I think," or "That's interesting, however," and give your own opinion. Practice saying these sentences aloud. Here are some example situations to practice with. Friend. "I think learning vocabulary is more important than speaking practice." Your response. "I understand, but I think speaking practice is equally important. It helps you use the vocabulary naturally." Colleague. "Grammar exercises are the best way to improve English." Your response. "That's a good point. However, I feel that combining grammar with speaking is much more effective." Classmate. "I prefer listening to podcasts over watching English videos." Your response. "I see what you mean, but I also enjoy videos because they show body language and pronunciation together." Try repeating these examples aloud and changing them to your own situations. This helps you sound confident, polite, and fluent in conversations. Before we finish Part 9, remember, showing agreement and disagreement politely is not just about words. It's also about tone and attitude. Smile, nod if you're on video, and speak with a calm, friendly tone. This will make your English sound natural and engaging. In Part 10, we will practice combining all the skills we've learned so far, asking questions, giving advice, sharing opinions, and expressing agreement or disagreement in a full, realistic conversation scenario. This will help you sound confident, fluent, and ready for real-life English conversations. If you're enjoying this lesson, like the video, subscribe to Ms. Fluent English, and comment below with one phrase you use to politely agree or disagree in English. I'd love to see your examples and give tips on how to make them sound even more natural. In Part 9, we practiced expressing agreement and disagreement politely, which is essential for natural conversations. Now, in Part 10, we're going to put everything together. You'll practice asking questions, giving advice, sharing opinions, and expressing agreement or disagreement all in one realistic conversation scenario. This is where your fluency and confidence really grow. Let's imagine a scenario with two friends, Sarah and David, discussing ways to improve their English skills. I'll guide you through each line, and I want you to repeat aloud and practice speaking naturally. Sarah, I think watching English movies every day is the best way to improve listening skills. You, repeat after me. I see your point, but I also think speaking with others is just as important. It helps me use what I hear in real conversations. Notice how this sentence combines agreement with a polite disagreement. It sounds natural and keeps the conversation flowing. David, that makes sense. I guess practicing speaking is really helpful too, but sometimes I feel shy to speak in English. You, repeat. I understand. Many learners feel shy. One thing that helps me is practicing with a partner in a relaxed setting. It makes speaking less stressful. Here, you're giving advice while being supportive. Using words like I understand and many learners feel softens the advice and makes it sound friendly. Sarah, I usually just memorize vocabulary lists. I'm not sure if speaking practice is really necessary. You, repeat. I see your point, but I would suggest trying short conversations as well. Even a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Notice the gentle use of I see your point, but this keeps your response polite while sharing a different opinion. David, okay, that sounds reasonable. What about reading books? I love reading, but I don't know if it helps speaking fluently. You, repeat. That's a good question. Reading helps you learn new words and phrases, which you can then use in conversation. But it's best to combine reading with speaking practice. Here, you're giving a balanced answer and offering a clear reason. This is how real English conversations work. Always explain why you think something helps. Sarah, I agree with that. So maybe I can watch movies, read books, and practice speaking every day. You, repeat. Absolutely. Combining all these activities is the most effective way. Consistency is the key, and it also makes learning fun. David, yeah, I'll try that too. Sometimes I worry about making mistakes, though. You, repeat. Don't worry about mistakes. Everyone makes them. Mistakes help you learn and improve faster. The important thing is to speak and practice regularly. See how using encouraging language like don't worry and the important thing is motivates learners and keeps the conversation positive. Now let's practice a mini exercise together. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend about learning English. Use these steps. Your friend gives an opinion about a learning method. Respond with agreement and a reason. Your friend gives a different opinion. Respond politely, giving your own perspective. Offer advice in a supportive way. End the conversation with encouragement or a positive comment. Here's a sample prompt. Friend, I think listening to podcasts is enough to improve my English. You, I see your point, but I also think practicing speaking is important. Even short conversations help you remember what you hear. One tip is to repeat sentences aloud while listening to the podcast. It really works. Friend, that makes sense. I'll try it. But sometimes I get nervous to speak. I understand. Many learners feel nervous. Try practicing with a friend or even by recording yourself. It helps you build confidence step by step. By practicing conversations like this aloud, you're training your brain to respond naturally in English. You're also combining all the key skills: asking questions, giving advice, sharing opinions, and agreeing or disagreeing politely. Here's another quick tip for real conversations. Use phrases like, "What do you think?" or "How about you?" after sharing your opinion. This invites your partner to respond and keeps the conversation flowing. Repeat after me. What do you think? How about you? Do you agree? Example. I think practicing speaking daily is very important. What do you think? Friend, I agree, but I also like reading books. That's a good point. Reading helps too, especially with vocabulary. How about you? Notice how these small prompts create a natural dialogue, just like a real conversation. Before we finish part 10, remember, fluency is not just about words. It's about how you use them naturally, listen carefully, and respond confidently. Practicing conversations like this daily will make your English sound more natural, clear, and confident. In part 11, our final part, we will do a full fluency practice session, combining all the expressions, phrases, and skills you've learned throughout this series. We'll create a realistic, longer conversation where you can practice speaking, listening, giving advice, sharing opinions, and agreeing or disagreeing politely. By the end, you'll feel ready to use these skills in real-life situations. If you're enjoying this lesson, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Ms. Fluent English, and comment below with one tip you will try to improve your English conversations. I'd love to hear how you practice and what works best for you. The final part of our Speak English with Confidence, Advanced Fluency Listening and Speaking podcast. Congratulations on making it this far. Today, we're going to bring everything together in one full practice session. This is your opportunity to combine all the skills, phrases, and expressions we've practiced in the previous parts, asking questions, sharing opinions, giving advice, agreeing and disagreeing politely, and speaking naturally with confidence. Let's imagine a conversation between two friends, Emma and Michael, planning how to improve their English fluency. I'll guide you through each line, and I want you to repeat aloud, practice naturally, and speak with confidence. Emma, I've been thinking about improving my English this year. I usually watch English videos, but I'm not sure if it's enough. Repeat after me. Watching videos is helpful, but practicing speaking every day is really important too. Even short conversations make a big difference. Michael, that makes sense. I also listen to podcasts, but I feel nervous when I try to speak. You, repeat. I understand. Many learners feel nervous. One thing that helps me is practicing with a friend or recording myself. It builds confidence step by step. Notice how you're acknowledging their feelings first, which makes your response friendly and natural, then offering advice. This is exactly how real English conversations flow. Emma. I usually memorize vocabulary lists. Do you think it's useful? You. Repeat. It's useful to learn new words, but it's even better if you use them in sentences and conversations. That way you remember them longer. Michael. Okay, I see. So we should combine listening, speaking, and vocabulary practice? You. Repeat. Absolutely. Combining activities is the best way to improve fluency. You can watch videos, read books, and then speak about what you learned. Emma. I feel shy when I make mistakes. I don't want others to laugh at me. You. Repeat. Don't worry about mistakes. Everyone makes them. Mistakes are part of learning. The more you speak, the faster you improve. Here, you're using encouraging language, which is essential for building confidence in learners. Always reassure yourself and your conversation partners. Michael, I think I need a plan. Maybe we can practice together every day? You. Repeat. That's a great idea. Practicing with a partner helps you stay motivated and makes learning more fun. How about setting a short daily conversation, even for 10 minutes? Emma. Yes, I'd like that. I also want to learn how to express my opinions clearly and agree or disagree politely. You. Repeat. Perfect. We've practiced that a lot. Remember phrases like, I see your point, but I understand. However, and that's a good point, I also think. Michael. Okay, I'll try to use them, but sometimes I forget what to say. You. Repeat. That's normal. It's okay to pause and think. You can also practice key phrases aloud before your conversation. With time, they will become natural. Now, let's do a mini role play exercise together. I'll give you a scenario, and you practice both sides of the conversation aloud. Scenario. You and your friend are discussing ways to improve English skills. Friend, I think listening to English songs helps me learn new words. You. That's a good point. I also like listening to songs, but I find speaking and repeating the lyrics aloud helps me remember better. How about you? Friend, I haven't tried speaking aloud while listening. Maybe I should. You. Yes, give it a try. It's fun and effective. You can also sing along slowly to practice pronunciation. Friend, I feel nervous when speaking with native speakers. I don't know what to say. You. I understand. Many learners feel the same. Start with simple questions like, how was your day? Or what do you think about? These phrases help start conversations naturally. Friend, I see. And if I make a mistake? You. Don't worry. Mistakes are part of learning. Most people will appreciate your effort. The important thing is to keep speaking and practicing. Friend, okay, I'll try. Can we practice every day? You. Absolutely. Consistent practice is the key. Even 10 minutes a day will make a huge difference over time. By practicing role plays like this, you're combining listening, speaking, giving advice, sharing opinions, and using polite agreement or disagreement, everything we've learned in this series. Repeat these exercises daily to make them natural in real-life conversations. Before we finish, here are a few final tips for speaking English confidently. Speak every day. Even a few sentences daily make a huge difference. Don't fear mistakes. Mistakes are your fastest way to improve. Use phrases naturally, like "I see your point," but "I understand, however," that's a good point. Listen and repeat shadowing native speakers helps pronunciation and rhythm. Stay motivated. Celebrate small wins and progress every day. Remember, fluency is a journey. The key is to practice consistently, stay confident, and enjoy the process. Thank you so much for staying with me through all 11 parts of this podcast series. I hope you found these lessons practical, motivating, and easy to follow. If you've enjoyed this series, please like the video, subscribe to Ms. Fluent English, and leave a comment below. Share which phrase or tip you liked the most, or tell me how you plan to practice your English this week. I love hearing from you and supporting your learning journey. Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, speaking English fluently is possible for everyone, including you. See you in the next video.